Hello, we're talking about chapter 4. There are two kinds of loops here, condition controlled and also count controlled. While loop, condition controlled, for loop, count controlled. And you can use it for either of them actually for somewhat different purposes, calculate and run in total. Talk about sentinels. For while loop, we need sentinels are for while loops, input validation loops are also while loops, and we will see a little bit of nested loops. So this is the things that you need to know, and I will try to mention each of them. So first, here is my little tiny program, a for loop run module. It printed 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. That is the I values on the range of 5. This is actually 5 iterations. Remember that word. The range is generated by default from 0. If you have one parameter here, it's an upper bound, so it goes from 0 with increment 1, and hence the values are stopping at 4, not 5. Remember that. If you want a little bit more flexibility, there is that. For example, we can start at 2 and run up to 4, including 4, but not 5. All right, here it is, 2, 3, 4. Two parameters, starting value and ending limit. We can do more than that, so from 2 to 10 with a step 3 and see which values is going to be generated. 2, 5, 8. So step 3 starting from 2, and we should stay below 10. That is why the 8 is the last number. Even if there was 11 over here, it would still print the same thing actually. All right, so that reminds us about the for loop, and right away we might want to remember that we can nest them. Okay, so read this code, think what it will do before I run it. Stop the video. I'm just going to run it and show you. Let me restart the idle. Run it again. So I value goes through values 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and we print current value of I, and then for j in range I, print j. First time around, take a pause, think about this. First time around I is 0, so for j in range 0 actually doesn't produce any values because 0 should be an upper limit, which is not reached, so there is no values to produce. Next time around, I is equal to 1, and j in range 1 produces just the value 0. And so on. Last time, I equals 4, if that is the end of the range 5. And for j in range 4, print j will produce values 1, 2, 0, 1, 2, 3, as you can see over here. So that is nested for loops for you. Here is a little example for you with a while loop. Now, while loop is a condition-controlled loop, so this is your Boolean condition. It returns true or false depending on the value I. Thus, inside this condition, I have to do something with the value I so that eventually this loop breaks and it's not an infinite loop. One of the things to worry about when you're dealing with a while loop. This while loop is initiated, the I is initiated as 0, primed, sometimes they say the variable is primed, and then while I is less than 5, first of all print the value, and then add 1. This is one of the easiest examples to be seen. And it does print exactly the same values, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, until this I becomes equal to 5 and the loop breaks. So what is I currently? 5, as expected. Okay, so while can do everything that for loop can do, and it can do more. However, it's a little bit more tricky. Next little example for you of the while loop. Let's initialize prime the variable keep going equal to y so that we can enter the while loop with this boolean checking as true, evaluated as true. And this while loop does not do anything. It just allows you to keep going for as long as you want using our input statement. So let's run this. So y to keep going, y to keep going, and once I'm bored, I can just hit enter and my program is done. So that's one of the things that you can do with a while loop. Next example, reminding you what is a sentinel. So my sentinel will be 0 because what I want to be doing is entering positive numbers. So 0 is used to stop. So certain symbol can be used to stop the input, like a pound sign in the end of whatever you're entering when you're calling your bank or something like that. So sentinel equals to 0, num is primed as 1 number, and while num is not equal to sentinel, here is your yet another boolean. While they are not equal, I'm gonna update the num, sorry, and that will work. All right, so my number is 2310, finally stopped at 0. Okay, we can do various things with while loop. This loop doesn't do anything, it's just waiting for 0 for a sentinel. In this example, I'm computing a total using a while loop. So total is primed as 0, and while the number is not equal to sentinel, sentinel being 0, we are asking for a new number and then adding it to the sum. All right, so let's see if it works. So 2, 3, and 0, and I just remembered I needed a printing statement. Actually, to check that it works, we can directly call the variable. So what is total? Total is 5, so it does work. Let us quickly rerun it with the print statement. So 3, 4, 5, and 0 to stop, and the total is 12. Check if I'm correct. And now let's try to do the same thing with a for loop. For I in range 5, total plus equals I, print total. So this is summing up the numbers from 0 to 4, and the answer will be 10. Here we go. So it printed 10 over here down below, and we are done. So totals can be looped through in this way. One more thing to remind you of, if I have some specific numbers I want to have a total of, and I can do this. This is called a list, comma separated in brackets. So I can compute a total by doing a for loop in this through this list. Okay, let's run it. My sum of 4 numbers on this list is 124. So that's another way to do total. And the last couple of things I want you to remind you of. First of all, augmented assignment operations. Like y minus equals 2 means new value of y equals to old value of y minus 2. Subtracting 2 from value of y, and so on. You've been playing with them quite a bit, and that's cool. Other than that, we need to talk about the input validation loop. Remember that problem that I did about how many hours per day do you study? Look up that problem in the public folder. You can click on home and scroll down, there will be a public folder. and find that program there and remind yourself what input validation loop is, or just look at it in the book. And we need to talk about the nested loops. We did do a little bit of nested loops and, for example, a for loop inside for loop. So I guess this is it. You might want to look at the in-class exercises and also the book exercises as well. I think that's all for the chapter 4.